Okay, we're live. So we just called the meeting to order. Kevin Stevens, board member, led us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And now we are going to have a silent prayer, or a moment of personal reflection. And tonight we honor two special people who have had long relationships with Olean City Schools. The first is Ira Katzenstein, who served on the Olean School Board for 25 years. Ira recently lost his beloved wife, Carol Mahoney Katzenstein, who passed away peacefully with her family at her side on December 30th, 2025. Carol was a very accomplished individual, especially during her 40 years at home care and hospice. She and Ira were married for 42 years. Carol also is survived by a daughter, Elise Katzenstein Sessler, her husband Richard, and her two grandchildren, Lincoln and Lydia. We also remember Jerry Zimmerman, who served on the Olean School Board for 14 years. Jerry passed away on January 9th. He worked for Cattaraugus County for 33 years, rising to the position of Director of Probation. Jerry went back to earn his master's degree in divinity, following his retirement from the county, achieving a lifelong dream of becoming a Lutheran pastor in 2023. He leaves behind his wife of 37 years, Linda Edstrom, daughter Martha, her husband Brooks Denton, and many family members and friends. I had the privilege of working very closely with both of them over the years, and so on behalf of the board, we extend our sincerest sympathies to Ira and all of Carol's loved ones, and Linda and her family and friends during this difficult time of loss. We will have a moment of silence in their memories. Thank you. Next, we will approve the agenda. The meeting is the January 13th, 2026 Board of Education regular meeting. And upon the recommendation of Dr. Morris, we approve the agenda as presented or amended.
I make a motion.
So we have a motion from Renee Garrison. Do we have a second? Mary Hershina seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Under communications, we have none, I believe. But we do have commendations. So I'd like to start, first of all, the National Honor Society inductions were held this past Friday on January 9th, and the following students were inducted, and I think it's important to name each one because it's such an awesome accomplishment. So Emma Adamski, Emma Anderson, Dylan Anthony, Lokesh Enamolasetti, Nicholas Bader, Mia Bean, Logan Bennick, Declan Boutelet, Seamus Burnett, Sierra Casford, Simran Shahal, Lena Chaudhry, Addison Driscoll, Jonas Easley, Colby Gibbons, Grace Giovine, Alexis Guglielmi, Jack Harris, Elena Hurleman, Audrey Hoffman, Cadence Hutchison, Landon Johnson, Diana Manar, Rain Maynard, Theodore McClellan, Lucian McPhee, Megan Morgan, Jordan Morris, Carly O'Connor, Jaden Hours, Angelina Key, Brady Rile, Colin Simmons, Natalie Snyder, Haley Storms, Emma Vino, and Ethan Woodring. Congratulations to all the students. We also have a very special award from the New York State School Boards Association. It's called the Champions of Change Award. And it's given to BOCES or school districts that really focus on positive, meaningful change. And it's to be presented to Scott Brzezinski and the Olean High School National Honor Society for North Union Street Gardens Beautification Initiative. So I'm a gardener myself, and I know what hard work that is to weed and plant and make sure that the gardens look beautiful. So sincere congratulations to Mr. Brzezinski and also to all the students who participated. And I know that Dr. Morris has a copy of the letter from the New York State School Boards Association. Someone will be coming in the future from the School Boards Association to be able to congratulate you also. But we wanted to make sure you're all here tonight. So we just wanted to make sure that you receive the recognition and the thanks that you all deserve.
And I also shared with the New York State School Boards Association that we would capture this moment with a picture. So we have the banner already, so we can do a photograph of Mr. Brzezinski and any of your National Honor Society, including our student board members that would like to be a part of the picture. We can do that really quickly. All right.
Where would you do that?
Right in the hallway. Okay. But congratulations.
So we're full of good news tonight, so we'll go on to the next item, and that is that Coach Phil Vecchio received the Alfred Joe Bonal Rod Roll Memorial Award as Big 30 Coach of the Year. So that's incredible news too, and Olean sustained several injuries of their players. And as a result, they were shorthanded during the season. And in spite of that, the students and the coach really fought through that, had a successful season anyway. And it just shows the quality of the coaching and the quality of this coaching staff and also the students who work so hard. So we're just very proud of your success. I'm proud to call Phil a friend of mine too. And so we're really happy that that's happened too. So good news on that. We don't have any new employees to introduce tonight, so and we do not have anyone who signed up for public comment. We do have, though, some comments from the Olean Teachers Association, and that's the president, Karen Fox. So Karen is going to address us tonight.
Hi, I'm Karen Fox. I'm the president of the Olean Teachers Association and district librarian. Just hi.
That's right
there. And thank you for getting us back online. This is a wonderful thing. It opens up a lot of access, and we're very grateful for it. The OTA has learned that the Board of Education is discussing policies 3272 and 6430 regarding advertising in the schools and employee political activities. We appreciate the time and careful consideration of the board to adapt our policies to best reflect the needs of our students and community. And tonight we implore you to involve stakeholders to guide you in the decision-making process. The policies in question prohibit the advertising or promotion of any non-school agency, individual, or organization and teachers' personal beliefs and political views. While we understand the need to protect our students from distractions to the learning environment and keep them safe, we ask the board to recognize the restrictions the language in this policy can have on our ability to connect with students and uphold our professional responsibilities to foster the development of students who are independent thinkers, agents of positive social change, and empowered architects of a society that is inclusive for all. In the face of rising behavioral challenges across the district and in our society, teachers are provided with countless professional development opportunities on many relevant topics, including classroom management, social emotional learning, de-escalation, trauma-informed teaching, and belonging through a culture of dignity. That is not an exhaustive list. In every one of these trainings, we are taught that the foundation of proactive classroom management is in building relationships with our students. How do we meet students where we are or where they are in a way that ensures we will not be accused of promoting a non-school entity? We know that representation matters. How do we cultivate a classroom environment in which students feel welcome and represented while being unquestionably in compliance with these policies? How do we know where the line is? Thankfully, we do have some guidance for this. District Policy 3430 solidifies the importance of policy and procedure development through the lens of diversity, equity, and inclusion. This policy, along with New York's culturally responsive sustaining education framework, highlights the critical need to affirm students' cultural identities, develop their ability to connect across lines of difference, and elevate historically marginalized voices. The framework cited in the policy calls on teachers to promote a variety of perspectives that represent the diversity of the state of New York beyond designated icons, historical figures, months, and holidays. It charges us to go above and beyond the curriculum to connect and empower our students. This policy and framework also calls on the district to include its DEI committee members in the development and maintenance of policies such as those currently in question. Before you amend policies 3272, 6430, or similar governance documents, we request that you honor policy 3430 and meet with the DEI committee to hear perspectives of the various stakeholders who are impacted by these policies to ensure the most equitable resolution on this issue. To start this conversation, OTA members on the DEI committee have composed a letter to the board outlining recommendations and topics for consideration based on the work that has been done over several years of meetings and their direct classroom experiences. I would love to share their letter with you. I have copies, I'm not going to read it now. The DEI committee is an incredible resource composed of various stakeholders from the community whose purpose is to ensure quality educational access to all Olean students. We appreciate their efforts and truly hope that this can be the start of a productive conversation. One suggestion from the OTA members on the DEI committee is for Olean City Schools to clearly define the pride flag as a symbol of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and not as a political statement. By resolving to protect the pride flag as a celebration of one's identity, we can take a big step forward as a district in demonstrating our support and in elevating marginalized voices. Thank you to the board and administration for your careful consideration of these sensitive matters that impact so many of our students. We hope that we can work together, specifically through the DEI committee, to promote Olean City Schools as a welcoming and safe educational environment.
So,
Thank you.
thank you. Next on the agenda, we have the student members' reports. So we will start with Olivia Black, who is our Student Board of Education member.
just gonna talk about what kind of we talked about earlier about the induction dinner. It was really nice to see all of the kids who got inducted, especially the ones who rarely weren't eligible last year to be inducted. So it was nice to see them do better in their education and get eligible for it. I spoke at it. Did a great job. Thank you. Dr. Morris was there, Mr. Martell was there, and it was just nice to see everybody come together and show real community and something that really upholds students like education and everything like that. So that's all I really wanted to say.
Okay, well, thank you and congratulations. That's wonderful. Ava Moses.
I'm basically just going to piggyback off of what Olivia said. We had the opportunity to go and watch the induction ceremony held at the Pulaski Club last Friday. And it was amazing to see how many hardworking students were nominated. It was also satisfying as a student to see the efforts Holy and High and the National Honor Society put in to celebrate our high-achieving students.
Great. So do both of you have a busy month ahead? You've been thinking about what you're working on?
Yeah, like we want to reach out to the other schools and try to become more involved with them.
When you say other schools, you mean like the elementary?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we want
Others
to
might.
have more like connections with everybody, so everybody feels community.
We want to make sure we're representing the whole entire district.
You should go to kindergarten classes on Valentine's Day.
Oh, that's a plus.
Natural place. That'd be a lot of fun.
That's
That's
a
a
great
better
idea.
idea.
Good. Well, keep up the good work. So thank you for those reports. I did want to give the board report. So it is great to be back in the swing of things. I hope everyone had wonderful holidays with your family and friends. And I know the students are back in the saddle too, so they're back in school and hopefully they're full steam ahead. And so tonight, in the spirit of transparency, we are very pleased that we are live streaming this board meeting to give the public greater access to our proceedings. Several years ago, board meetings were available on the BOCES Access channel, but that practice was discontinued. The technology has changed since then, and our meetings are available on Olean City Schools' YouTube channel, which I think is a wonderful development. Many board members felt very strongly that live streaming should be established to allow more accessibility for the community. At this time of night, parents are busy taking care of their kids at home, making sure they're doing their homework, hopefully. And during the winter months, especially, senior citizens have a difficult time getting out of the house. Taxpayers deserve to know how their money is being spent. All of these important factors weighed into our decision-making. I commend board member Alex Kelby for her work as chair of the operations committee on this issue. Also, the entire board deserves a big thank you for supporting this effort, and we look forward to greater community engagement going forward. So great job, everyone. Thank you. Next, we have the superintendent's report.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to do another piggyback off the piggyback about the National Honor Society Inductions and Award Dinner. That was a great event. And a big thank you to Mr. Rosinski, if he hasn't left, because that was a great presentation that was done. He mentioned that there were seniors that chimed in and were able to help. And we had a great dinner that was put on, and lots of family pride was there of the hard work that was done for our students. And just in case if you wonder, the Honor Society is an opportunity to recognize students who have distinguished themselves through academic excellence, character, leadership, and service over their academic career. So as Olivia mentioned, and she was a great MC, I want to make sure that I emphasize that, she emphasized that not everybody gets in every time they apply. So it really is reflective of cumulative hard work. And so we emphasize that this is now a charge for the future, that now we expect great things from our new inductees, and we're very proud of them, and their families are very proud of them as well. And so it's just very nice to celebrate them as well. So big thanks to Mr. Rosinski and his team, Mr. Martell, who came there and represented the high school, and all the students who made it an effortless evening for all. Now that we've acknowledged the National Honor Society Award, I want to also make sure that I give a big shout out to them receiving the award from NISBA, because that is a very, very impactful recognition of the work that they have done, and that's a state level recognition. So thank you for NISBA for recognizing that work, and I'm appreciative that they celebrated that hard work that the National Honor Society members have done. So now we're going to move on, and we're going to have two updates from our team members. The first one will be a capital project brief update from Jenny Bellotta, and then we'll talk about some strategic plan work that we're doing, and we'll hear from two more of our team members.
All right, thank you. I am going to provide a brief update. So for many of you, you probably remember voting on the capital project back in May of 2025, and you're like, what's going on now? This is a very long process. There's been a lot of work happening behind the scenes, a lot of user group meetings, a lot of stakeholders have provided a lot of input. So we've broken the project into 3 phases. The first phase currently, we're getting ready to go to SED, the State Education Department, with our design plans. And then we're hoping to have that out possibly by the end of next week. The main things in phase 1 are a lot of the work that we are doing at Washington West. That is all in phase 1, primarily the playground. There's 6 classrooms there that still have to be completed, foundation work, and whatnot. The reason for that being done first is a lot of that was already designed. So there's not a lot of design work to put into that. It's already ready to go, so we're gonna try to get that done first. There is a small possibility that we could be doing some of the security window film and the playground as early as this summer. If SED sticks to their short timeline for review, there's a possibility that could happen. You're gonna see Miss Stuff in the back of the room do a cartwheel pretty soon, okay? She's very excited about it. At the high school, a lot of the things that we're doing are exterior in nature. So a lot of our doors, a lot of the windows, canopy replacements, things like that. A lot of the exterior work. The AC in the gymnasium is also in phase 1 of this project because again, we had already designed it in a previous project, but the funding wasn't there, so we couldn't finish it. And then at the middle school, our main focus on phase 1 is, again, security window film, the pool tile replacement there, and then the main entrance at the middle school. That's in the phase 1 because we're going to be redoing that to improve the safety there.
So because New York State already approved the design before, even though we didn't do it, doesn't need to be approved again. We can just go forward and do it, correct?
We still have to have their approval on it, but it
But the
should
things
be
that were approved
streamlined.
before, we don't have to get a new approval.
It doesn't go through the entire redesign phase. So
Okay.
we basically just submit it
Mhm.
and show that they've already reviewed it.
Okay.
It's good, but
Yeah.
the consultants have said that things have been fast-tracked.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
sometimes in the past, it's
Yeah.
gotten held up for
Yeah.
long periods of time, so it's good.
Yeah, so we're hoping, fingers crossed, that this should be done, within the next few months.
Nice.
That's what we're hoping. So that's mainly phase 1. Phase 1 is just over $11 million. Phase 2 is the majority of the rest of the work. There's a lot of work here being done at the high school. If you recall, the main offices, the district offices will be redone, biology classroom, kitchen upgrades, the new parking lot. The parking lot will be redone and whatnot. So there's a lot more put into phase 2. Phase 2, we've actually already started the design. We had our first user group meeting last week to kick that off. There is also work being done, a little bit more at the middle school, not a ton. The majority of that's going into phase 1. Eastview Elementary is where you will see the majority of phase 2 as well. If you recall, we're redoing that entire mezzanine area at Eastview. So that takes a lot more design work and time. So they're just starting that now. That'll be in phase 2. And then phase 3 is all of the HVAC work at the middle school. That's primarily in phase 2 for 2 purposes. It takes a lot of time to design all of that because there's so much that goes into it. But also the lead time on a lot of that stuff is extremely long. At times we were waiting almost 2 years for some of that stuff. We don't anticipate that much of a lead time now, but that will likely, unfortunately, be the last piece of this that is designed and completed. So as we're designing phase 1 right now, or as we submit it to SED now, we're hoping if everything goes as planned, that we'll actually see work starting there next year. So work starting throughout phase 1, I should say, next year. And then 1 year later for the rest of it. Keeping in mind that it's oftentimes the same people, the same design team, the same construction managers that are working on all of it. So, as they're designing one and getting one to SED, they're already starting the rest of it. The other thing to keep in mind too is contractors. We're not in an area where we have, extreme numbers of contractors. It's usually the same same contractors bidding on a lot of this. So we do anticipate a lot of interest in local contractors as we go out to bid with this. We have some great contractors in the area that we've worked with in the past, and we anticipate active bids and very competitive bids coming in for this work. So, any questions?
Jenny, you also mentioned to us in the Buildings and Grounds committee meeting that, in the past, we've had to be in competition with some of the other bigger projects that
Right.
have been, like the new Bill Stadium.
Stadium.
And that kind of stuff, and we're hoping maybe that we won't maybe be up
Yeah.
against so much competition for those minimal number of workers
Yeah,
and contractors that are out there. So we're hoping
Yeah.
that will swing in our favor
Yeah.
as
yeah,
well.
you're right. That's a good point too. Yes, when we were working on the last one, it was the new Bill Stadium and the Great Lakes Cheese Plant
Yes.
that really, forced a lot of competition for us. I mean, there's only so many electricians in the area, you couldn't get an electrician if your life depended on it because they were being paid more to go to a lot of those projects. So we're hoping we don't have that level of competition this time, which should benefit us by more people bidding on our job here. And it's a big job. I mean, altogether it's $54 million, We're doing it in phases as well so that we can pay for it in phases and then close it out, start getting the building aid back before we do another phase. So,
I also felt comfortable, Mary, that, in Jenny, that the consultants are going to strategically bid it. So there's certain times of year where
Yes.
yeah,
it's best to get out there when people are trying to plan their year ahead. There's not a lot of work that they've lined up yet.
They knew
So-
exactly when they were gonna do that, didn't they? They had
Yes.
that
Yep.
exactly set both times, so.
yeah,
But
yep,
we're
absolutely.
familiar with these people. They've done
Sure.
a nice job
Yep,
for
so.
us in the past, so.
Yep, Young and Wright Architectural Firm is the architects. We've worked with Matt in the past. Matt Cummings and Sean Wright are the lead architects on that project, and we've also worked with Campus Construction in the past. Brady Adams will be the main construction manager here. We'll also have a few other individuals that are familiar with the district working with us as well. So we've got a really good team and we're confident in moving forward with this large project.
Any other questions? Okay.
So now we have our two presentations this month from updates from our departments in our schools on the strategic plan and the work that they're doing this year that complements our objectives of the strategic plan. As you know, annually since the development and rollout of the strategic plan, we have provided an annual update of the overall progress of the strategic plan, and we've also provided periodic updates of how the schools work and how our departments work align with the strategic plan objectives. Last year's work contributed to changes in curriculum in the ELA programming, and that has resulted in increased student achievement across the district. And therefore, this year's work we are focusing and we'll be highlighting areas that we're doing to support strategic plan objectives and their results in the behalf of our students and our goals. So we're going to hear from this month Lauren Stuff, the principal of Washington West, and we're also going to hear from Jen Mahar, who's the director of special programs. So I believe Lauren will begin and then Jen will complement the presentation. Thank you, Lauren.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren from Washington West Elementary School, and Jen and Mahar we were racking our brains about what we were going to do specifically for today's presentation. So we've kind of earmarked some of the major objectives within the strategic plan that we feel are of greatest benefit to our own schools or our own personal goals within our buildings and in our special projects that we do. So I'm going to reference this flyer here that you have and kind of target some of the topics that we've been focused on within our own school building. The first one that I want to draw your attention to is attendance. So over the course of the last couple of years, we've targeted attendance as a primary focus, not just within Washington West specifically, but throughout the district as well. In part because our students can't learn unless they're here in their seats. So in order for them to maximize their success, we want them to be present in our halls learning every single day or as much as possible. We've been tracking chronic absenteeism data. We've been sending home letters to families. We've been calling families personally every single day to inquire about students' absences and really trying to make that personal connection with our families to incentivize and support our students for being at school. Most recently, if you draw your attention to like our tier 1 and tier 2 focuses, tier 1 would be we're doing it for everybody. We built in some attendance incentives for our students this school year. We started one in October. It was called the Show Up and Shine Attendance Incentive. We encouraged our students to come to school every single day and shine and be in our halls every day in the month of October. Of our roughly 315 students at Washington West specifically, we had about 33% or a third of our students that were present every single day. So we felt that was pretty admirable considering our attendance rate for the month tends to hover around the 90th percent. We were, I want to say in October, we were actually at 95% in October. So we were pretty proud of that. And so in great thanks to our MTSS team that is targeting attendance and behavior, we had the support of a classroom teacher who thought that we would really benefit from another attendance incentive in January that incorporates dogs. Dr. Morris appreciates this one. It's called our Doggone Good Attendance Incentive, and we are encouraging our students to be here throughout the month of January. Medical absences are permissible. I know the flu is going around, and we have a lot of kids that are under the weather right now, so we're being flexible with that. And then we are also tracking not just individual student attendance, but class percentage of attendance. It's very difficult for a teacher to maximize the success of their students if the students are not all there at the same time. If you have 4 kids out one day and then 4 different kids out another day, it seems like they're kind of playing that repeat game on what they're teaching every single day. So the top 3 classes that have the highest percentage of attendance will actually get to read with therapy dogs, and then we ordered a slew of new books that came in today, and any of those students will get a new book to read with the therapy dog. So we're kicking that off this month and then carrying it over into February. Spoiler alert, all the students will get to read with the therapy dog eventually. It's just the first 3 classes will get top priority initially at the beginning of February. So we're kind of been targeting that collectively amongst the whole. Individually, again, we're sending attendance letters home to families. We're communicating with families directly. We're highlighting, the current number of absences and tardies that students have, just so families are very vigilant and aware of that. Since starting at Washington West, I kind of made mention of this. Our attendance rate every month has hovered around 90%, sometimes in the 80s. And it's disheartening when you see that because you just know how many kids are missing and what they are missing when they're not there. So in the average over October, November, and December thus far, our average was roughly about 93.4%. So across all of the months since the start of the school year, we've been much higher than we may have been in the past. So we're going to continue with some more incentives to hopefully support and, again, maximize the success for our students.
I'm really happy to hear this. I think it's great.
My favorite part of our attendance goals is our secretary at school calls the families every single day. And if you're ever at Washington West, you can hear, hello, this is Mrs. Morena. Please tell me why your child's not here at school. And parents actually pick the phone up. Sometimes they don't respond to messages, the automated calls they get, they just ignore. But when someone is calling and making that personal connection, they're more likely to kind of give us some sort of justification why. And then if we know they're sick and it's pretty serious illness, we're not bothering the next day or the next day if we know maybe why there's justification for their absence. So
Are you notating this stuff?
yeah, we have those giant.
We had a former board member, we really wanted to know if busing, stuff like that, with the weather, the kids walking to school, stuff like that.
We've looked into that before. We don't see a direct correlation with transportation and attendance. I think it just happens to be, it's an anomaly in some cases. We don't really know why in a lot of cases. Some families it is transportation or there's limitations for how they can get to school, but it usually is not due to transportation. We've looked at that.
Yeah, and that was a topic of our discussion at the MTSS district-wide meeting that we had yesterday, and we discussed that as well. And it doesn't, because one would think that, especially during the winter months, that transportation would be a concern, but we're actually not seeing that.
So are the live calls, the personal calls new this year?
No, we've been doing them forever. So that's actually something that's kind of been a long-standing tradition at Washington West. If it happens to be that a student is absent so many times, let's say it's become a pattern. They miss every Friday or they miss most Wednesdays, and our secretary starts to note that, I will make that next call just so that they're not always hearing from her. There's a connection coming from elsewhere
Yeah, I
too.
was wondering that.
Yeah. Sometimes a letter doesn't always work either. It's just that conversation, even face to face at the end of the day, having those connections with families has been essential. So our second target area here is behavior. Obviously, in order to kind of create that supporting and welcoming and affirming environment for our students, we want to target proactive approaches to student behavior. We've been working toward implementing a tracking system. So I've mentioned in the past, we have positive behavioral expectations for our students. Be safe, be respectful, be responsible, and be kind. We go over them every single day. We do reboots with them so kids are aware of what those expectations are in our halls, in our cafeteria, and throughout the school building. And we're working on tracking those to kind of get a little bit more prescriptive data on the percentage of students that maybe are not following one of those expectations in specific areas in the school building. That's one of our primary focuses and goals for this school year in particular. And then we are still working on documenting incidents that warrant more follow through that are disruptive to the learning environment. In that, we've been talking more about how we document incidents, what's the follow-up for those, what are the consequences that a student may have as a result of an action or a behavior within their classroom setting, and then how are we going to reteach and reset so that we don't have that frequently occurring or evolving time and time again. In Tier 1, again, we've gone through the behavioral expectations with our students. We're doing a reboot actually next week. And then we're working toward tracking those positive behaviors within our school buildings as well. And in Tier 2, we are continuing to, again, log and track student behaviors. We have specific interventions for some students. For example, if a student, let's say, every day at 10:30, we know that they have a little hiccup in their day at 10:30. We have a staff member that can check in with that particular student, maybe for 5 minutes, just reset their focus, get their energy back up, and help them transition to whatever may be coming. And then maybe at 1:30 in the afternoon, it's the same thing. They might have a quick check-in in the morning or a quick check-in in the afternoon. We have our school counselor does for students that don't necessarily warrant having an individual session with her. It's called a hug, a hello, an update, and a goodbye. You know, they might walk down, provide a quick update to her, something that maybe happened to them the night before or something that they want to celebrate, and then it's goodbye, great, have the great rest of your day. We have a lot of students that benefit from that, and again, it goes back to kind of what Karen was saying about building those personal connections with students. They thrive on that, especially at our age group. They love connecting with an adult in the building, and there's lots of adults that our students have found trust in. So that's been something that's been very positive too. And then a bright spot, This is just, we kind of do a lot of tracking with the number of hours and referrals that we have to the office. September always seems to be peak. It's a big transition for kids to come back. I'll be honest, it's hard for some kids who have never been to school to walk in the door and say, okay, from the hours of 8 to 2:30, you are expected to do this, 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 and this, and I want all 15 of you to do it at the same time. That's a challenge for some kids. So in September, we see a lot of peak behaviors that we're able to kind of nip in the bud. We had 11 and a half hours of time or referrals to the office over the course of September. And then as the year progressed, we've had 8.5 hours and then 9 and 9.4 in November. December, I'll be very honest with you, tends to be peak too. It's very hard for kids to transition out of their regular routine, particularly in the week before break. So that tends to be a week where we see a lot of peak behaviors. Again, Jen Mahar will talk to this. Branching minds is going to lend itself really well to see when we have a pattern of peak behaviors, and we'll be able to do even more tracking with what time of day, where it's happening, how frequently, and for particular students, what we can do to help support them during those times too. And then as our last piece here, just for engagement, one of the things that we're constantly working toward is obviously engaging our parental and community involvement. Washington West is a great place to be. We have a lot of faculty and staff that is committed to being a part of our events. Ava and Olivia, I think you both were there at our Cookies with Santa event that we had in December. Top-notch Santa. I don't know if you guys got to see it, but he's top-notch. It's on the back if you haven't seen it. That is one of our favorite events every school year, and we have lots of faculty and staff that comes to join us at that event. And our families love to connect with our family, or our staff and the rest of the students at opportunities like that. So we've done things at school as well to incentivize and support our students. I mentioned this last year. We do our Launching Leader Luncheons where the students have the opportunity to earn a shirt and then have a lunch on a Friday based on their positive behavior that they've had over the course of a week. And then we also have what we call Leader of the Pack. That's pictured on the back too. Every other week we draw for Husky stuffed animal. And the students that are filling up a board that they have in their classroom, all the classrooms have it. They get to drop a ticket in, and if their name gets drawn, they get this Husky stuffed animal. It's the most prized possession, I will say. So those are just a couple of things. At this point in the school year, we've celebrated about 50% of our student population with the Launching Leader Luncheons. So we have about half the school year left. Our goal is to have every student earn that by the end of the school year. And then all of our students at this point have had their leaderboard filled at least once. Our goal again is to have at least one every marking period. Some kids have probably done it 6, 7, 8 times at this point because they just are constantly following those expectations and deserving of some accolade or award for their accomplishments. So those are just some of the things that we're doing here, but all of this has kind of come together in great part because of the work that Jen Mahar has helped organize with our MTSS data teams. We have some specific teams within our building, and we've established some goals with those teams. We have an academic and an academic team, which we're currently developing some projects with on that. We have an attendance and behavior team, and those groups of people, myself included, Jen Mahar, Heather Billings, and then some teams of teachers and other faculty and staff within the district. We've really created some opportunities for our students in some unique special projects. So we're excited about it, and I'm going to let Jen Mahar kind of speak to some more that's specific to the district and how things have transpired. So
Thank you, Lauren.
thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to pick up right where she left off, as she was talking about data teams and whatnot. I'm Jen Mahar, Director of Special Programs, and I'm referring to the placemat style visual that you have in front of you tonight. And this is really just an update for strategic plan focus. So I'm prioritizing areas related to school improvement and to things I would consider under student support services as highlights for tonight. But I'll start with the MTSS data teams because that is a new launch this year. We in the past have worked with our high school to do early warning system meetings, and those became data meetings that met regularly and had a process that has evolved. As we got better and tighter with our protocols and our directions that we wanted to go with those. We knew that we wanted to bring that to each of the buildings. So on your middle column here, you see our progressive learning and data-driven decision-making section. Multi-tiered systems of supports. With our data teams, we expanded to all 4 buildings this year. And as Lauren mentioned, we do have a focus on academics, behavior, and attendance. And we also meet at the tier 1 level because a strong tier 1 is the most important thing that we can work towards, as well as tiers 2 and 3, where students might need additional support in order to be able to meet grade level or age level expectations. So those teams meet on a regular basis. We have 4 meetings for each of those teams at a school level. There's about 8 to 10 people on those teams. And then we also meet on a mid-cycle rotation for the district level. And that first meeting was yesterday, so that was nice to be able to give those highlights. And the idea is to be able to really use our data from school-wide measures to be able to see how we're doing, look for patterns and trends, and really identify places that we want to work. So Lauren was perfect in offering many very specific examples. I'm not going to drill into a lot of detail on those today, but those types of initiatives and plans and things that we're studying and working to improve all fit under this data team structure. So we're building up our protocols to look at data well and use it well, making sure that we have alignment with our strategic plan and district goals and initiatives. And then we're looking at medium and longer term improvement cycles to be able to try things out, put in new programs, see how they're working, check our data, and so forth. Our next update will come to the curriculum committee later this month to be able to reflect on what happened yesterday and be able to think about the remainder of the year for through the lens of this work here. So the extension of that is off to the right, and Lauren also mentioned Branching Minds. That is an MTSS platform. It's highly data-driven, and it integrates a lot of the data pieces that we already have, including eSchool and Renaissance Learning and other data sources. And some of the primary tools that it provides is a way to look at universal screening data. How are we doing across the board? What does that look like for the students who are doing well and have the supports that they need? Where are the students who might be struggling and needing some additional assistance? It provides a menu of supports, and that's like a library where there's strategies, resources, programs, interventions that can be helpful for teachers to utilize with their students who do need additional supports, either in tier 1 classroom with differentiated support or in separate groups or more intensive.
So this Branching Minds, is it academic data or behavioral data? Oh,
It's both.
sweet.
Yes, it's very, very cool. I geek out on this quite a bit.
Can you look at academic and behavioral together? To see
You
if there's-
can, and you can look over time to see how that's
I might have to
transitioning.
come and see.
I would love to give any demo to anyone. The other piece is that there's intervention tracking. So we have progress monitoring data in, we can graph by the intervention. It helps us consider whether the interventions are working well across a group, not just an individual, so we can make good choices on where we put our resources and our time and our PD and all of those pieces. It also provides an opportunity to document. So if we're looking to make sure that we're supporting the student across all of those areas and over time, we have a place right within that will be able to document those changes over time and what those outcomes are.
Go
Jen, you
ahead, Aubrey.
I was just gonna say, this is new this year.
It's launched this year, so
Okay.
teachers have access.
Okay.
Right now, so the big data pieces are available at the district, at the school, and at the teacher level. And so teachers can log in and see where their students are. We're offering trainings for teachers to be able to say, how do I navigate, how do I find? And then we're also starting with our intervention providers. So those who offer Spire or offer Benchmark or offer a behavioral support will start to do that data tracking there. And the permissions are tied to what our student information system is. So in eSchool, we attach the right adults to the right kids, so those teams, that follows for this, so the whole team then can see the progress underway.
That was kind of the other piece I was gonna ask is like, it's probably still new, but any feedback that you've gotten from teachers on how implementing this, the time piece of it?
Sure. I think there's a long ways to go. There's a ton of things that people might not have even seen yet in the courses of times where we've introduced it. We've brought it to every data meeting as a way to start expanding. And then, like I said, we're offering those professional development sessions, and people will start to use it. So if we come to an RTI meeting, if we're in the middle of a grade level, there's opportunities to pull this up and have some really nice, helpful views for multiple teams at different levels. And so it'll grow. It needs to just start taking shape. We've been adding more and more data to it in terms of things that don't naturally migrate in that we can upload in, and then helping the folks who will be using it most directly for interventions start to get comfortable with it.
So my question is, so as you're tracking that stuff, will it follow the kids throughout to help the teachers?
It does. So you can look over time. Absolutely. Yes. Some of the other pieces with this then is the professional development related. We also started a weekly MTSS post to start just building that language and the foundational understanding for faculty and staff to be able to have the understanding of how this is structured, how it relates to what they're seeing in those data pieces. And then it ties obviously into the interventions. So the program itself has a library of resources. Think a Pinterest wall, like you have options to browse through and find good fits for. But then there's also obviously those that we've selected very intentionally that are programmed into it, they're prioritized within it, and we set up what are basically protocols of if a student is scoring in this range, we're recommending this intervention. If a student is scoring in this range, we're recommending this intervention. And then it's helpful for scheduling the teachers who might be providing those interventions or being able to schedule when in the student's data those are occurring. So the second one down there, the reading intervention piece, we actually have gone through a couple of different reading interventions that the reading specialists use in the Title I program since COVID. And the first two, I would say, really did a phenomenal job of helping us bridge back as students were returning to regular instruction. But we moved beyond those now because, for one, they don't need some of the levels that we previously needed to provide. And then two, now we're getting better and be more selective about what we'd like to offer. So right now, our current focus is around benchmark phonics at the K3 level, Read 180, which is at 4 and up, Inspire, which is across the board, as reading interventions for Tier 2 and Tier 3 level supports for students who might need those. So those are some of those early interventions that are being logged into Branching Minds or starting to be logged into Branching Minds, and that data then will follow the students as we consider how well they're doing, if they need more, if they need less, etc. The next area I want to just briefly talk about is positive culture and social emotional learning and behavior. So as Lauren mentioned, the elementary behavioral expectations, continuing to support the development and implementation there, tying that into some of those projects that the data team is looking at when they do see hotspots or things to address. Also expanding behavioral support. So with the help of our behavior specialists and our social worker, as well as our community partners. So we have a couple homeschool liaisons. We have attendance support through the FAST program with Connecting Communities in Action. And we want to make sure the way that we utilize those supports is aligned and cohesive in a way that this all works together. So we regularly are doing that kind of check-in and support with them to make sure that those line up with the tier supports that we need across the board. Another area, and I think Maureen mentioned this last time, we were talking about the social emotional learning screening at the middle school. We did start with our 6th grade, so that's another area where we have the opportunity to learn a little bit more about where students' skill levels are and what they might need. That and other places are leading to then be able to develop skill-based groups. So if we recognize that a student might need more support in a particular area to support peer interaction or self-regulation or any of those things related to SEL and behavior, we're able to work those in as needed. Off to the right there, I just highlighted a couple of special programs, additional opportunities, of course, Summer Star, which we've talked on before. Liberty Partnership, just as a brief recap, that's grades 5 through 12 for students who have some at-risk characteristics. One of the highlights there is they do a special field trip each year, and I'm excited. They're going to be going to Jacobs Brain Institute in Buffalo in early May, and that's a hands-on, they do 3D printing of, they get to see a simulation of a heart procedure, or a brain procedure rather, and be able to interact with the medical team there. And that is supposed to be a really phenomenal field trip. So that's exciting to have some students be able to participate in that, as well as other special projects that we do during our summer and our after-school programs. And then the last area I just want to touch on, parent community engagement. So we've started with the 8th grade orientation, we added 4th grade orientation. Now we'd like to expand and improve and expand our pre-K and K orientation, just to help families and students who are coming into the buildings at the beginning year of that range to feel supported and know what they might need and feel welcome into our school environment. We added summer registration days this past summer, so that's an area of hopefully supporting those families new to our district to take care of the startup process as early as possible, ask questions, see the buildings, be able to get acclimated before the first day of school, and then of course the community schools Thanksgiving dinner. We started adding an additional parent programs or family programs. So we've always had reading invasions. This past September, maybe it was like August, we had our first technology workshop for parents. That was a nice offering we'd like to do again. Of course, access VR nights for families of special education students. We had last spring our Seed to Supper with our farm educator, which we're going to run again this spring. So that will be coming out here soon as an advertisement for families. And then the farm educator also did the pumpkin smash with Chemical Farms right after Halloween.
What's a reading invasion?
It's an opportunity to come at a non-school day time. Sometimes there's blankets, sometimes there's flashlights. It's literally come in and everyone's reading. So it looks like a picnic in the cafeteria or blankets spread out in the gym or sometimes outside. And it's just an opportunity to get some more reading time. We started it when we were doing something called steps for reading, like we're counting the minutes students were reading and logging those. And that became one way to encourage a love of reading and just a family to be able to treat that as a family opportunity to take time, pause in your day, have some reading time.
So Lauren did a great presentation. Thank you for that. And I know you've been working hard on this, John. Is Eastview Elementary doing the same programming that Washington West is?
Yes.
And how's
Everything
that
is building on where they've started already. So some things have a slightly different shape, different attendance incentive theme, things of that nature. But otherwise, we're working closely together as we build up these out. They have the elementary behavioral expectations. They have the related supports that are being built as in each of the buildings.
Are they doing some of the incentives for attendance?
They did a December flash, so they did it, I believe it was 12 days, 12 days early December. And then they have another one this month scheduled.
January, I think it's like sledding and something. Yeah, because they've got the big husky sled out there.
They also have several celebrations, as Lauren mentioned, that celebrate students who are responding to those positive behavioral expectations and highlighting how important that is to help them do well and help the school building function as a strong team.
The buildings are aligned very well this year.
And they'll be here next month.
Yes. Yeah.
Good. Hey Jen, with the attendance, what's the approach if you changed up anything for attendance for the middle school and the high school this year?
In terms of
Trying
responding
something
to
new
families.
and, do parents get calls and things like
They
that?
do. We have families, so there's a combination. So we also use the robocalls, the automated pieces from Parent Square to some extent. And sometimes that's helpful for families who don't really want to have a conversation back and forth to at least get something as started. But we have phone calls from our office, our attendance clerks at both buildings to be able to reach out and find what those might be. We also have students who are identified at a level 2, which is 85 to 90%. So they're below where we would want them to be for the regular attendance rate. We're working with our homeschool liaisons to do attendance groups that are designed to think about what might be preventing that student from being as content or engaged or connected with school. And so sometimes those groups can help to kind of build up that trust, that community, that connection that then attendance then follows in a more positive way.
And you're tracking the chronic absenteeism data also
Correct.
for the different.
And
variables?
every time these data teams come together, they're reviewing the current data. We're looking at highs and lows for attendance days and what might impact those. So we can be strategic on some of those extra activities or incentives on days that might otherwise be challenging for attendance. They're looking at that overall building attendance as well as those trends for students in those high risk areas.
And with the behavior, have you added anything new this year for the middle school and high school?
So we have the behavior specialist and our social worker who are working with the buildings to, basically it might be a referral or a request to consult with classroom teachers, give strategies, give suggestions, also to sit in on some of those planning teams. The skills-based groups are also under development at both middle school and high school. So for example, as a result of the screening at that first sixth grade social emotional learning screening, that will result in the introduction of some groups that will target what those students might need. Not specifically attendance, it's probably a bit more connected to behavior or social emotional learning needs. And we also have our homeschool liaison here at high school who is running, I think he's up to 3 groups during those lunch periods where he's running groups every 5 weeks. Sure. The last thing I just have on the bottom there is some of those outreach pieces. We had our remote area medical in September, of course. Our backpack food program is with Aurora, Western New York for families who might benefit for some additional food for weekends. And then we'll also be continuing our Mosaic Health dental services as we started for the first time last spring. We'll bring that back in again this coming spring.
Jen, how's our attendance on like the parent technology workshop? I know that was something that we were interested in.
I believe there were about 15. It was that's not a huge group, but we would like to offer it again as well.
Did you tell us was it at the high school here?
It was at the Professional Learning Center. It
Okay,
was in
so-
the evening.
All right, so for anybody
Correct.
to come?
Correct.
And then the XSPR would be for our at the high school?
We actually hold it at the Professional Learning Center
Okay.
because it's in the evening. It's nice for parking and just to kind of have a little cozier setting.
And,
but
how did that turn out?
we have a full house on it each time we offer it. I
Okay.
think we've done it 3
That's good.
times so far, maybe 4.
Okay, great.
So we've gotten great turnout from there. And then the follow-ups to be able to support those.
Yeah,
families
absolutely,
afterwards.
absolutely. I love that we're doing that. So those are some things that I'm excited.
And
to
great
see that
community
the district
partnerships.
is doing.
So
Absolutely.
to resources join us for those sessions.
Good,
So
okay,
it's been very
good,
helpful.
excellent. That's good to see. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Jen.
Jen.
Just one quick question. I know Jenna touched on the behavioral specialist piece of it. Is that something like I know we're getting each one of these presentations. Is that something that we could potentially have to kind of get an update from them as far as what they're working on, what they're seeing as far
We'll
as
roll
the
up to Jen in part and Marcy Richmond, who is the Director of Special Ed. So their 2 presentations and their overview of their work was intended to be sharing with the board what they do and how they're supporting the schools. Is there a specific way that question or any other detail that you'd like her to share?
No, I thought that would just, since this is something new that we're doing, it might be helpful to see or to hear from, what they're noticing.
When we do the MTSS update at the next curriculum committee, we
Okay.
can provide more detail that gives some data around those or descriptions of what their work is.
And then I can bring that back in my report
Yeah.
then. Great.
Thanks, great point. Okay, is that it?
That is it. Thank you so much.
Okay. Next, we have discussion items, and we have Marie Rakus, Super Bowl of Caring.
One of the English teachers at the high school. Before I talk about the Super Bowl, I wanted to mention one of the incentives that I say we, it's Joe Alperi, one of our history teachers, initiated, was that last year? With the quarterly?
Yes.
Okay, so last year she started doing quarterly rewards for students who make honor roll and high honor roll, which, it's not just grades that contribute to that success, it's also attendance and behaviors that are more positive. So we have that incentive in place right now. So, and the kids, it's been a great response to it. I really do have to say that.
Yeah,
So,
we did
I wanted
a podcast on that as well, where she talks about it in depth.
Oh, did she? Okay.
Yep.
I missed that, but I just wanted to make sure that is, I think, a very big incentive that we've started the last 2 years, so. Now I'll talk about the Super Bowl. So it's on your agenda later on for recognition to be sort of declared that week in February before the Super Bowl is Super Bowl of Caring Week. So we have been doing this, it's a student-led food drive. It has been in the Olean community for, I'm gonna say 25 years. I should know off the top of my head, but I don't. For 25 years, it has been strictly organized by Olean schools for the last 15. So it starts with senior leaders. This year we have Aubrey Hunt and Cadence Hutchison, who are the leaders. I have volunteers in this room who have helped for multiple years. So the nice thing about this food drive is that it starts with all of our schools, with the youngest of our members of our community, in terms of giving what they have, sort of the concept of, someone will always have less than you, that type of a thing. So give what you can, and if you can't give anything, that's okay. Be grateful when you do need to use the food pantries, and we give to 3 of them in the community, the Olean Food Pantry, Harvest Field, and St. Vincent de Paul. So throughout that week, we have collections in the schools that students and staff donate to, whether it's food, shelf-stable items, or monetary donations. But the kids get excited about it. We have beautiful posters hanging up. They volunteer to do that. They help collect. They help to, drum up enthusiasm for getting donations in. But one of the other things that we do that I think is very important, in addition to driving awareness to food insecurity within our community, is that we partner with local businesses and local houses of worship. So we've been doing this with churches up at St. Mary's, St. John's, First Baptist, First Presbyterian, Mount Zion has helped us before. And then for businesses, In Tandem is very generous. We've had Eaton, let's see, oh gosh, shouldn't be naming because I'm gonna forget someone. High Point Credit Union, and it'll come to me, hopefully before I get done. Anyway, so it's a community endeavor. The food pantries are always so happy to see what we're able to give them. And what I think is one of the most gratifying things is that every year there's a little bit of some story that comes out of the Super Bowl that unless people don't even realize. It's not something that we advertise, but there's always some great story, some great connection that is made to, kind of be one of those things that reminds us, to be grateful for everything that we have, and to share with others. So, but this is all student volunteers. They gladly do it. They're wonderful helpers. And I'm, happy to be a part of it and to work with these kids that just take the lead and they're asking about when are we going to get started. So it's really gratifying. So
Great.
anyways. Oh, City of Olean, sorry. So yes, they funded the city building for us. So anyway, so yeah, great endeavor, but it's something that our kids do, and pre-K all the way up through senior. So yeah.
Well, the students really, I'm sure, get a lot out of it, and they're learning important life
I think they
lessons. So congratulations to you, and thank you for
It's
doing it.
not, yeah, they do a great job. So thank you.
Marie, how many years have you been heading this up now?
Well, honestly, this started, when I say 25 years ago, again, it's approximation. It started at Transfiguration Church with their religious ed program. And then through various adults, they kind of took that. Dan Stetz was one of them. He's our auditor.
Yep.
And then Bertie Scroback had it. And then I think in maybe 2011 or 2012, I took over. And we've been running it, as a district led program since then. So
Nice job.
yeah,
Thank you.
It's fun.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, moving on to the committee chair reports, and first we have audit and finance with our committee chair, Kevin Stevens.
All right, so the first thing that we looked at was the preliminary auditor results, and BWB and Olean are going to be attending our next meeting 2 days from now. to present a more detailed report, but overall, there are no major findings. But there's some things in regards to like paperwork for extracurricular activities that we're going to be looking into, doing a little bit better or differently. And we talked about how there's going to be some new extracurricular advisors, and it's probably a good spot for that to happen so that we can kind of step in, implement some of those new recommendations. Then we went over the 27 budget presentation, and we took I'll just kind of go through some of the things we talked about. And the first thing was we were talking about having the building principals being more involved in the staffing projections for that 2026, 2027 year. Our staffing and benefits account for about 65% of our total budget, which is pretty substantial. We talked about how the general education class sizes are much lower than what they used to be. And part of that, we talked about how the Olean General Hospital birth report is kind of used to predict those numbers, and there has been a drastic decline over the last few years. In a good way, there's a number of an increase in the number of special education students that are going to be receiving services. The decrease in the general education students will decrease the overall amount of aid. However, there will be a slight increase due to the special education students getting a higher bit of aid. Unfortunately, it does not offset it entirely. Then we talked about how the 25-26 budget was voted on prior to the actual state budget being approved, and how that led to some discrepancies in how the media portrayed certain things. And then last, we talked about ways that people can go about using the new facilities that we have. So renting the fields, courts, etc. And this was nice to know because I'm a part of a couple different organizations that have actually reached out to me to kind of figure out how to do it. So basically how you do it is you go to the district website and there is a facilities use form. You just complete that, provide a copy of your certificate of liability with the Olean City School District listed as an additional insured person, and then the school. So those are the main three things we talked about.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Kevin? Okay. Great job. Next, we have Buildings and Grounds. Mary Hershina is our chair.
Yes, so we had a couple visitors that came to, guest speakers that came to our meeting. And so I'm not going to go over the capital project update because Jenny did a great job going over all of that. We just looked at it definitely in a little more detail. But we just talked about where we're at. And again, we're right on track here for, getting this project up and running in its different stages. So the phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. So we'll look forward to learning more about that as, we have more meetings and all that good stuff. So that was great, and great to see the people from campus and Young and Right. So they were great to answer any questions, and so that was a nice visual that we could see as well. After that, we are still working on this 5634 policy, which is the naming and renaming of school facilities, the honorary and the permanent. I actually provided a draft update for it. I think we're close on it. I think we're close on having a nice form that we can use with criteria, which we liked. So we're gonna bring it back to the committee for discussion in February. We're hoping to be able to hopefully finalize that. And then again, just like with operations, we're gonna make sure that it looks good and it goes through our attorney and all of it before we bring it to the board. But I think we've got I think it looks like it's a good policy. I think we're moving in the right direction with that. And along with that, there was a nice little piece in there because we did discuss that, you know, sometimes little things, there's a little plaque that shows up or something like that, and we didn't maybe know about it or something like that. And so this way, you know, we can be apprised of what is happening, and just have a little better, hands-on, with that. And I think that was not, you know, we didn't have that anywhere in our policy. So I think, this policy will spell it out nicely for us. And again, I do think that, having the criteria, for, you know, to look at is going to be very, very helpful. So we're very, very close on that. And then we just did get a quick update on, the wrap, for the turf. The design has been finalized, but everything is on hold until spring with a target date of alumni weekend. And that was another thing that was kind of nice about the new policy. We'll have some specific dates, in it too as well. So, and making sure that when we do have, you know, some kind of a recognition, ceremony, that, you know, we're getting it out to the public in a timely fashion and all of that. And all of that will be listed in the policy. I know sometimes we don't like to have a bunch of things in a policy, but I think sometimes in this situation, more might be a little bit better than this. So, so again, it has taken some time, but, you know, we're basically rewriting, the policy. And so we adjourned at 5:07. Our next meeting will be, I believe it's the 10th, yep, at 4:00 here in the board conference.
Could you remind people what the wrap is?
So the wrap will be, and Jenny can probably tell us too as well, it will be wrapped around the sign.
Yep, so the big scoreboard out on the turf complex, at the top of it, there will be a thing up there, and it'll be, you know, Don Chola Memorial.
Yeah, or whatever I don't know
know.
what the.
Yeah, I've seen we can share the design with you guys so you can see it, but it'll be at the top of the scoreboard of the new athletic complex.
And that is new because hadn't finalized anything the last time that we had met, but they're moving in a good direction too as well. So, yeah, so we're moving right along.
Great report, thank you.
You.
And finally, we have operations, and Alex Kelly is our chair.
Thanks, Kathy. So yesterday, was the operations meeting. We met for just about an hour. The main topics were policy 3272, which is advertising in the schools, policy 6430, employee political activities, and then policy 1510, which is the regular board meetings and rules. So to touch base, 1510 was at the top of the priority list for mainly live streaming, and then trying to take a look at maybe adjusting some of the timelines so that more public expression could be brought to the meetings. We agreed yesterday that the 1510 policy stood in the grounds that we're all looking for, and we all agreed on that, that it gives people public time for public expression. Based on how many people we've had so far this year, they kind of correlated together, and we thought that policy was okay for review. The one that was kind of the hot topic was policy 3272, which is the advertising in schools. Karen, I appreciate your comments. So, and I appreciate your attendance yesterday and hearing some of that feedback from the teachers, because I'd like to really take this policy into consideration so that it follows along, with the current events of the world and things like that, so that boards to come can kind of follow along. So we are drafting and adding some language to 3272. Renee sent the board some of that language, and we're going to bring that to discussion for February's meeting. I don't want to rush that policy, so I know there's going to be some different back and forth and some different opinions on the revisions. So I'd like to take a lot of opportunity in this committee meeting to get this one right. So we're going to be revising a lot of that language so that it gives Dr. Morris a lot more guidance on how she can address some challenges that she might have from some of the staff. And 6430, we also agreed kind of
utilizes that language so that if we change 3272, they'll be in conjunction together. So we didn't seem to think that 6430 needed to be changed. It kind of gives a lot more depth into and give her some more guidance, whereas 3272 needed a little bit more depth, and they can work together so that the guidance is covered amongst both the policies. So I thought we had great conversations. I'm looking forward to adjusting them in the next meeting and see what kind of language we can use and add so that it gives the guidance that she needs and everybody is covered. Everybody is somewhat happy, and I am a feedback person, so any feedback from staff, anybody would be great so that we can kind of get this guidance taken care of.
Okay, thank you.
And I appreciate the live streaming, what that needed to come to fruition. So thanks for everyone that was involved in that.
Okay, thank you. That wraps up the committee reports. And next, item number 10 is the consent agenda. So I need a motion.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mary Hershina, second by Lee. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda passes. Next, we have new business. So first of all, we have the Super Bowl of Caring Week designation. And that would be to designate the week of February 2nd, 2026 through February 8th, 2026 as Super Bowl of Caring. On Friday, February 6th, 2026, donated canned goods will be picked up from each school and delivered to the local food pantry. So Julio
I'll
moves,
second it.
Evan seconds, discussion?
I have a question. If the drive goes through the 8th, why is the food being donated on the 6th?
Right,
It looks like
It's a Friday.
okay.
So we'll
it is
just change
like-
it today.
No, that's the,
So February 8th, it will be donated. They will be picked up.
So no, the week goes from February 2nd to February 6th.
okay.
So
Okay.
the typo
So the
is,
6th.
it should be the 6th.
Gotcha. And do the organizations pick up the food? How does it work?
It says that, they'll be picked up from each school and delivered to the local food pantry.
So the school delivers it? Oh, some of the students? Okay. Oh, that's good. Any other questions? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have item B, approve volunteer applications. So on the recommendation of Dr. Morris to approve volunteer applications for Kara Neal, Kayla Shoemaker, and Andrea Fredericks at Eastview Elementary School. So we have a motion from Kevin. Second. Renee, wait, let me fight over this one. Renee seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item C is affiliation agreement with Buffalo State University. So Dr. Morris recommends that we approve the affiliation agreement with Buffalo State University for the term of January 13th, 2026 through June 30th, 2031 for the purpose of internships and student teaching. So do we have a motion? Lee motions?
I'll second.
Oh, okay. A second.
There we go.
Alex seconds. Okay. Any discussion?
Yes,
Yes, Julio.
I don't remember seeing one this long. 5 years, are they usually?
It depends. So we've had hearings, we've had some where we've had them a year, we've had some that have been longer. So, this one, we worked with attorneys on both sides, and we came up with this duration of this particular affiliation.
Have it in place.
Absolutely,
For sure.
longer's a better idea.
Yeah, it's great.
Mhm.
Happy to see it.
And you can always make changes if you need to.
Absolutely. And we do.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. wraps that up. So, item 12 is personnel, and we have a personnel consent agenda.
Make a motion.
So Renee makes a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Mary seconds. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
What, we have one abstention.
You can abstain from the line. You don't have to
Just from the
abstain
line.
from
Yeah,
the
just
part.
from the-
Yeah.
Okay, just for my husband. Okay, so
The coaching.
Betty's
So the fourth
husband
line from the bottom.
is,
You're
on
okay
the
with
list.
everything else?
Yes.
so, he will be coaching the girls JV softball for the 2025-2026 season, which is great. And so Betty abstains from that particular item on the roster.
And are all of our coaching positions filled?
No.
Modified softball and baseball.
We're still working.
We've got two to go.
You interested?
Okay, so that takes us to item number 13, which covers informational meetings. So we have some upcoming meetings. There's a special event tomorrow night. Congruency Committee Community Forum is January 14th at 6 p.m. I believe the time was changed a little bit. And it will be held in the Olean High School cafeteria. Pre-registration is required.
It is.
Okay, so how do people register?
There's a link on Parent Square, and they can just go through that link and just indicate that they will be attending. We have a lot of people that have responded thus far, so we're very excited about that. And if they want to, they can go through our Parent Square.
Do the board members have to pre-register?
We appreciate you telling us that you're coming, so that way we can make sure we are prepared, especially if you have any dietary restrictions.
Okay, well, I will be there. Any other, okay, Aubrey will be there. Any other board members?
Oh, I'll be there. I'll be there.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
Betty, Alex, anybody else? Okay. That's good. I'm glad we have a good turnout. Audit and Finance Committee will be meeting on January 15th at 4 p.m. in the Board of Education Conference Room, so right here. Health and Safety is on January 21st at 3:15 p.m. Again in this room, so I'll be at that one. And other people are welcome to come, I believe. Curriculum and, what's IM? Instruction, okay. Thank you. 4 p.m. in the PLC conference room on January 29th, 2026. And finally, our next regular Board of Education meeting is going to be held in this room on February 3rd at 6:30 p.m. Any questions? Okay. So at this time, the board will be going into executive session for items number 6 and 3 and 6. So do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Audrey makes a motion, 3 seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Do we have to invite anybody here?
We do not need to invite anyone in. If we need to, we can always reach out to speak to our council, but I don't anticipate that will be. There will not be any action.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thank you. Thanks, everyone.
You guys leave your, Aubrey, I hope you have a good time.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, thank you all. What happened last time? I had been texting, Josh's niece, and she's Jackie. And so I texted to her and I was like, I just said like the time and stuff like that. And she didn't say anything back to me. And then when you texted me, I'm like, I remember sending this. I'm like, I sent this up, Jackie. And then I texted her, I'm like, you're probably wondering what I was trying to say. I figured it was nothing that needed my attention. So we'll make sure I get the right